Retro.
What's up, guys? This is Daniel Logan, Boba Fett from Attack of the Clones, The Clone Wars, Book of Boba, Skywalker Saga game, and hopefully many more things in the Star Wars galaxy. You are listening to Jay and Dennis on Podcast Stardust. Yep, this is the way I've spoken.
Welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And it's time to wrap this week up with a look at some Star Wars news. But before we dive into that, Jay, can you remind everybody where we can be found around the internet?
You got it, Dennis. We are on Facebook and Instagram very conveniently at Podcast Stardust.
All right. The dish is aligned, the signal's boosted to maximum output, the shield is down, and we are now broadcasting to the galaxy. So up first is the story that everyone is rationally talking about all over the internet. And that would be the fact that there are some numbers on the total time or total minutes that the various shows on Disney Plus got in 2024. I believe this was compiled by a company called Luminant. And really, frankly, I don't know how they came up with this, but they did. And this is just limited to original series programming on Disney Plus and how much time it racked up there. Coming in at number one was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, like way out in first with 3,070 minutes. And that had debuted in December of 2023. And then of the remaining 10 titles, we got 5 of the top 10, or I'm sorry, 6 of the top 10 are all Star Wars. The big surprise being is that coming in at number 2 is The Acolyte.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that given the kerfuffle that came up around that show, to use I don't know, whatever word I can on that. But what'd you think?
It's a great word to use. Absolutely. That's a fun one to say too. Surprising, yes, because of course there's been a lot of, backlash and talk about how, of course, The Acolyte not coming back for a second season and all of those kinds of things. So, I mean, it is a little surprising, but I mean, it definitely had a lot of watchability in terms of the novelty of it. So I think a lot of people were tuning in because it was brand new, and a lot of completists like us, that made sure that we saw the entire series through. And I know some people that did go back and watch it a couple of times and really loved it too. But I am a little surprised. How did you feel about that?
Oh, I'm with you. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's not my favorite Star Wars show. I said that at the time when I reviewed it, but it did enough that I wanted to see more of it here.
Mm-hmm.
What has me concerned, and only to a minor degree, is that coming in number 7 on this list is Star Wars Skeleton Crew at really about a quarter of the views, a quarter of the minutes, I should say. But that debuted December 2nd of last year, and it didn't complete last year either. I mean, we were talking about this up till 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So I have a feeling that will come in high on 2025's numbers there. But if The Acolyte's not getting a second season with its numbers, then that's not a great sign for Skeleton Crew there. Again, like I said, Skeleton Crew wasn't complete. And what's promising, though, is that, at the bottom of this list are Ahsoka, which came out in 2023, Mandalorian Season 3, also 2023, and Mandalorian Season 1, which came out in November 2019.
Yeah.
And and Mandalorian Season 1 had 693, I keep saying minutes, but that's like millions of minutes.
Right.
And I should be more specific there. And so, okay, so there's some observations to be made. If just for the sake of everyone's curiosity, I'll read off the entire list. Number 1 is Percy Jackson, the Olympians. 2 is The Acolyte. 3 was Agatha All Along, a Marvel series. 4 was Echo, another Marvel series, which again, I'm very surprised to see that that's that high on the list. But it does
Mhm.
have the benefit of having coming out in January of last year.
Right.
X-Men 97, which was fantastic, is number 5. And then it's all Star Wars. Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3, Star Wars Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, The Mandalorian Season 3, and The Mandalorian Season 1 on there. So Star Wars and Marvel are what's driving the series viewership on
Mhm.
Disney Plus.
Right.
This notably does not include movies that were released in theaters and later came to that platform. I'm going to guess that Deadpool and Wolverine blows these numbers out of the
Oh,
water,
yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and the like on here would absolutely make mincemeat out of these. And that's what's driving Disney Plus subscriber growth.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. And I'm wondering if this Luminate streaming viewership company is the new Nielsen's. Remember how the Nielsen's ratings used to be like the
Yeah.
big thing with
They're
all the
still around.
viewership? So,
And
are
yeah.
they?
Yeah. And they have their own way of rating shows and stuff like that. I don't know that they compile it like this, but this is the story that's catching everyone's attention
Oh,
right
for
now.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to make of this, except for like every single one of these is a big IP. Every single one
Mhm.
of these shows, Star Wars and Marvel leading the way on it there. So is that indicative of what we can expect from Disney Plus? Probably, I think it is. Probably fewer series over the course of the year and more reliance on their big movies on the platform.
Mhm.
That'd be
Yeah,
my
could
guess.
potentially be.
Yeah,
Right. But I think for Skeleton Crew, just revisiting that idea, like you said, it just came out at the end of 2024, and there are
yeah,
so many people that are coming to the well on that
sure.
show. So, because the whole idea of Skeleton Crew, people are talking about it like crazy. So there's
Mhm.
so many people that did not get to see it towards the end of 2024 that I think are going to gobble it up come 2025. I am very curious also to see where Andor may end up next year,
Oh, I
on
think
this
that'll be
list.
huge. Yeah,
I think
I
so
think
too.
I'm a little surprised. Well, maybe I'm not, because I really haven't gone back and revisited Andor since it was over, and I've rewatched pretty much everything else since then.
Mhm.
And I think, and I stand by this. I said this last time we talked about it. It's just that it's not just a show I can have on in the background. It demands your attention.
It does.
And, and with these other shows, you know, any episode of The Mandalorian, put it on, and I go about my business and then stop and look up when the Mandalorian gets into a gunfight. That I think I told you the other day that I was watching the first 3 or 4 episodes of The Mandalorian on the Hits and Heroes Always On channels
Right.
on Disney Plus,
Mhm.
and loved it. Loved having it on. And these shows that are on this list are pretty easy to do that with. Whereas Andor, again, it's just a different type of show. It really needs more of your attention.
It really does. And I had mentioned, I don't remember which episode last week I had mentioned this, but at any rate, I just started rewatching Andor. So it wasn't until after the first of the year. So who knows? I mean, first season of Andor could make this list as well, right behind second season or somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because of the second season. People want to revisit it before
Mhm.
they catch season 2, or people that didn't catch season 1 the first time around watch season 2 and then go back to see what happened in season 1 after that. So,
Yes. Yes.
all right. Well, again, that's some food for thought on that. We'll have to see. One last observation, which which has given me hope for Skeleton Crew. Acolyte was canceled like days after that concluded. Either there was an announcement there wasn't going to be a second series, and Skeleton Crew's gone a couple of weeks without being any news one way or the other about a
Mhm.
second season. So
Mhm.
I choose to take that as a promising sign, whether it is one or not. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think it is a positive sign. We're going to will it into existence, Dennis.
I like it. Okay, so we got some book and comic news, and that is that we have had the reveal of the final entry in the High Republic, Trials of the Jedi. We got the cover that was released on Gizmodo, and there's a bit of a summary there. I'll read this real quick. Of course, the name of the book is Trials of the Jedi. And this summary says, Trials of the Jedi sees the Jedi draw a line in the sand against Marchion Ro. We learned that was Marchion from Tempest Breaker. And the Nile, preparing to show down with the would-be tyrant after the Nile's war in the galaxy has left the Republic divided. Interesting. But while the threat of Ro is one thing, the threat of the force-devouring creatures known as the Nameless that Ro has unleashed on the galaxy are a crisis even more existential to the Order and Republic alike. As the Jedi prepare to face their greatest test in centuries of galactic history, just 9 of them, chosen by Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann, are tasked on a do-or-die mission. Head to the Nameless's homeworld, discover the secrets of the creature's connection to the Force, and find a way to stop the ravaging blight from spreading across the whole Republic. Oh, and then save the galaxy from Ro and his legions. That should be no problem for a Jedi Order at the height of its power, right? So, that's a lot right there.
Yeah.
But let's start off with the cover. What do you think of this cover that they've got?
Oh, it's so cool because it's very reminiscent of the original Light of the Jedi in a lot of ways with the colors that are being used.
Uh-huh.
But instead of raising the sabers in the air, it is very obvious that these sabers are being pointed toward something. Where, so it's definitely got that feeling, as you read in the summary, that they are going after everything that they need to go after in order to save the galaxy. Whereas in the beginning, with Light of the Jedi, until the initial disaster happened, the Jedi were just seen as, for light and life, more of a
Yeah.
symbol as opposed to like a weapon, kind of
Right.
a thing. And it's very intense. You've
This
got,
is an action cover.
beautiful. Oh,
Right.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's everything that you would want to see in terms of the glorification of the Jedi as these amazing warriors at this time of the time frame. I love it. I love the colors. I love Elzar and Avar, and Burry, everybody on the front just looking like they're just ready to go at it.
Right. So as you were saying, we've got Elzar, Avar, Burryaga, and Bell, and they're kind of, it's the Avengers pose from the beginning of Avengers 2 when they kind of like are all lined up going from left to right across the screen there. This is what
Oh,
they're doing on this
yeah.
cover.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I can't tell if it's a Nautilin or someone with a purple lightsaber that's kind of in the background between all of them there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who that character is, but they also seem to be wearing the armor that we've got teased. I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con last year or some point in the last couple months. We had concept art of them all in that white armor.
Yeah.
And so they're not wearing the helmets, but even Burryaga's got like a pauldron there. So that's pretty cool. I dig this cover. I think it's really, really quite impressive. What did you think about the summary though of this that they provided for us?
It's intense. And I mean, as it should be, because this is the apex of the adventure and this is what's going to wrap it all up, which I have to say isn't it kind of crazy to think about that here we are at the end?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, as much time as we've spent with the High Republic, it in some ways doesn't seem like it's been that long. But we look back at these years that we've spent with it, and it really has been quite a journey. But yeah, it's very intense summary. What did you think?
Yeah. A couple things. One, to your point, this was supposed to debut in August of 2020, but it got pushed back because
Hmm.
of COVID and they
Hmm.
wanted it to get the release it deserved. So we ended up getting it in 2021. And now here we are at the end, which why stop now? You can tell more adventures about these characters unless they all perish, but we'll find out. And
Shh, don't say
yeah,
that.
but but yeah, it's a lot of things that we've been tracking. What's going to happen with the Nameless? What's going to happen with the Blight? They're teasing the big final confrontation with Marchion Ro and the Nile here. So that's interesting. I'm trying to figure out exactly what they mean by the Republic that has left the Republic divided. Are they talking about the Stormwall being up still at this point, and that you got worlds caught behind that in the occlusion zone, or what are we talking about exactly here?
Mhm.
I think that's what they mean. But anyway, I can't wait for this, and it's coming on June 17th, and it'll be bittersweet to get that story. I mean, Charles did such a I say Charles like I know him, but Charles Soule did a great job
Mhm.
with Light of the Jedi. and everything else that he touches when it comes to Star Wars, that I really, really can't wait to see what he does here to conclude the whole thing.
Oh, I'm in total agreement. And what you were saying about more stories to be told, of course, I believe that there is as well. And I don't think it's going to be called, if they do decide that they want to move forward with these characters, that calling it the High Republic, but they'll give it a different name and give
Yeah.
it a different era, but we might be able to still be present with these characters, which would be absolutely amazing. But I mean, there is a possibility that they could all perish because, as we know, nobody is necessarily safe. But I'm just really excited for Charles Soule because I liked what he said in the article that you got here too, and that he said it was an honor and a privilege and even a bit terrifying to be asked to launch the High Republic with Light of the Jedi. And then he goes on to say, I gave Trials of the Jedi everything I've got, and I can't wait for people to read it. That is quite a statement, and I am here
Hmm.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. He also goes on to mention that he wrote it as both the conclusion to the High Republic and so that it could stand alone, because the point he makes is like every book is someone's first Star Wars novel. So
True. Yeah,
if
I like
someone
that
picked that
point as
up,
well.
then they wouldn't be
Mhm.
lost if they read it. So sounds like it'll be a thoroughly well written book, if that's the case. So
Mhm. Charles Soule always does amazing work, so definitely looking forward to it, but like you said, it's also very bittersweet because you don't wanna wish the time away either.
nope, nope, nope. Okay, well, another week, another guest announcement for Star Wars Celebration, and this time it is the live action Ahsoka herself, Rosario Dawson, headed to Japan from April 18th to the 20th. Yeah, good get. Not surprising in the least. I think she's been making herself available as a Star Wars ambassador for the last couple of years since she's been attached to Star Wars playing Ahsoka.
Mhm.
Um, I'd like to meet her. She just happens to have been in Dallas when I've been out of town the last couple of times that she's been here. What do you think about
Yeah.
this appearance?
No, I think it's fantastic, and I know StarWars.com put it out twice. They put it out once when they originally announced it, and then on 29th of January is Ahsoka Tano Day, which
Ah,
is the celebration of when Ahsoka was, originally introduced to the fan base, and so they re-released the announcement and said, "Happy Ahsoka Tano Day," and so they, talked about it again. So, yeah, I think it's awesome and very fitting. Rosario was also in Cleveland a couple of years ago at Fan Expo Cleveland, but I did not get a chance to meet her. Unfortunately, I was only there for a very limited time that year, and so I missed out. But I know that the line was just, wrapped around the whole convention center, it seemed
sure.
like. And I do know some people that were able to meet her and said that she was absolutely incredible and just very poised, but also very gracious with the fans and really took her time with them. So, very excited for anybody who gets a chance to meet our live action Ahsoka.
Yeah, I got to see the photo op of you and your Ahsoka cosplay with her at some point.
Oh, yeah. I would love to do that. Would love to do that. Got
Could you
not looking
imagine if she
years.
did a 2-for-1 with Hayden?
Ah, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be great.
But they've been attaching to all the social media posts for this that there are still limited tickets available for Celebration for Friday and Sunday. So Saturday you're
Mm,
out of luck, but if you want to go,
mhm.
Friday and Sunday are still available to you. I'm hoping with her being there that we'll get more information on Ahsoka season 2,
Yes.
because we just talked about how they've recast Balin Skull,
Right.
and now that should be, I would think that should be getting ready to go into production sometime soon. Now, because I'm thinking Dave Filoni should have some more free time because they've wrapped filming on the Mandalorian and Grogu. That's not to say he won't have some responsibilities when it comes to putting together the movie with Favreau, but
Mhm. Mhm.
anyway, hopefully that means that we're getting Ahsoka. I'm hoping that's the 2026 live action show, because we don't have an announcement of a 2026 live action show
Right, not
right
as of
now.
yet.
All right.
Yes, and I think we are definitely, well, we know we're gonna have so many news stories coming out of Japan in April. Our Star Wars news cup will definitely be runneth over.
Oh yeah.
It's a
Yeah, they
good
got a
problem to have.
lot set up. One prediction is that they're going to update the movie release schedule, and we'll find out Sean Levy's movie is going to be the next one that comes out after um, The Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, because
Mm,
with the news that Ryan Gosling is circling that project, that seems like that's got to be getting closer to being a done deal than anything else that they've talked
oh,
about
yeah,
recently. So,
absolutely, absolutely.
okay. Well, last story we got, and this was breaking news right before we recorded here. It's January 30th, the day that we're recording this, is that we know the fate of the Galactic Star Cruiser, which was, of course, the Star Wars resort experience attached to Walt Disney World. According to Drew Taylor in a report on the Wrap, which has been pretty much picked up by every news outlet in Florida and elsewhere, the Galactic Star Cruiser is becoming Office Space.
Dun, dun, dun.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Now it's going to be, the report is it's going to become Office Space for Imagineering, and that's where they're going to headquarters their efforts as they add the new Indiana Jones experience to Animal Kingdom and the Encanto experience to Animal Kingdom and a few other things. They're doing a new Cars Land and the Magic Kingdom and the like. And so that Imagineering group will be working out of there. But I was holding out hope. I didn't expect them to ever bring it back as the experience that they had, which we didn't get to experience, but some modified version of that was what I was hoping they would do. But it looks
Right.
like it's not to be.
Yeah, and that's really a bummer because there was so much, obviously, time and money that was put into that project. And for those that did get a chance to experience it, we've heard wonderful things. But I will say that would be a pretty sweet office space if you worked for Imagineering. Not gonna lie.
Well, yes, I agree, but it has no windows. So, I mean, other than your front door, which, and they have their, fake elevator that takes you, it was supposed to be the replica of you taking a shuttle from planet side to the ship. There's no, I mean, so are they going to put windows in, or what? I don't know. We don't have the details of exactly what they're going to do. And maybe Imagineering needs a dark place in order to do what they're going to do. But,
Mhm.
yeah, that just kind of struck me as odd that Office Space was the result of that. But
Yes. We'll be
I
following its career with great interest.
yeah, I mean, I know they took a tax write-off on it, so they may have had their hands tied as to what they could do there, but
Mm,
still, well, alright, it's not to be. Just hoping that someday we get an opportunity to go in there and experience some version of it, but okay. Maybe they'll bring those, experiences elsewhere. We'll have to wait and find out,
right.
but,
We'll be positive.
yeah, indeed, indeed.
There you
Okay,
go.
well, not the busiest of news weeks, but that's what we've got for this week's look at Star Wars news here on this episode of Podcast Stardust. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so already, you'd consider subscribing to the podcast so you can get our weekly look at the news as well as all of our other features. We're currently looking at the Clone Wars every week, and then we've got our monthly features. This year, we're doing 10-minute segments of Revenge of the Sith, and then Jay's got her monthly feature on uh, Star Wars fashion and lifestyle products, which we call World Between Worlds. And we're getting ready to debut a new type of episode here in the near future. So make
Mhm.
sure you stick around and find out what that is. If you want to find out, if you want to check out the entire history of the show, the best place to do that is over at retrozapp.com, where our entire catalog of all previous 841 shows can be found. And while you're there, you can find the other great shows on the network, such as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Case Files, Animaniacast, Brews and Blasters, Dork Lair, Doomcast, Enjoy Stuff, Love, Death, and Robots Plus, Superhero Suite, and Warp Trails. Jay, you want to remind everybody what our social media contacts are one more time?
Absolutely, my pleasure as always. We are very conveniently found on both Facebook and Instagram at Podcast Stardust. And you can always check out our Pinterest boards. We have tons of different ideas over there for everything Star Wars. And we do have two different YouTube outlets. We have the traditional YouTube as well as YouTube Music, which does support reviews as well as interactions and, of course, subscriptions. So please subscribe, like all of the videos, and share those out with your friends as well because it's a nice tidy little place to find all the episodes. And of course, we're always on Spotify, Audible, and everywhere else that you can download your podcasts. And then we also have our T Public store where we have 7 different show logo designs available. on all kinds of things from home goods and apparel and everything in between. So if you do decide to get in anything, just know that every one of those purchases does help to support the show. And we always like to see whatever you get out in the wild. So if you do happen to snag something, make sure you snap a picture and tag us, and we will be sure to share that out. So once again, T Public, and that link is in our show notes. So just hit us up over there.
All right, Jay, I want to remind everybody what's going on in the world of cosplay.
Oh, definitely. So always having fun over on my Instagram, which is j.snips cosplay. Could spit that out. And you can catch me as Ahsoka. We were just talking about the fourth sister, which I will be bringing back for a convention very near in the future, as well as two different versions of Hera, my original concept Mandalorian, and then I'm also working on some non-Star Wars things right now that I will also be debuting here in the spring at Fan Expo Cleveland in March.
All right, upcoming on the show on Monday, we are getting back into the Clone Wars. And then on Wednesday, we are going back for some vintage Star Wars with a look at Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. So with that, just want to say thanks for listening to episode 842, Podcast Stardust, everyone. Have a great weekend. And until next time, may the Force be with you.